Hey guys and girls, my name is Alan and welcome to today's trailer analysis video. So, it's that time of year again. Call of Duty. Hype begins. The train. First stop. Well, first station? I don't know. Anyway, in the past couple of weeks, rumours and eventually confirmation that Call of Duty would be returning to, quote, its roots, end quote, with Call of Duty World War II, the most imaginative title ever. And I mean, it's not a massive surprise, to be quite honest with you. We all saw this coming. Advanced Warfare was terrible. I kind of enjoyed the campaign, but not a huge amount. I thought it was okay. But the multiplayer was complete ass, and I think a lot of people agreed. It just wasn't a very popular game in general. And obviously, Battlefield 1 came out, and they went back to World War 1, even though you could argue it might as well be World War 2. And that seems to be quite popular. I do have the game. I haven't really played that much. I don't know. It's just hasn't really filled the Call of Duty void that I'm missing in my life at the moment. So I'm kind of hoping this is going to be a good game, but I don't know, we'll just wait and see. Sledgehammer, I mean, they made some very questionable decisions with multiplayer, skill-based matchmaking and all the rest of it, and so that's it. Even though I kind of enjoyed the campaign, the multiplayer was a big letdown, and in this day and age, Call of Duty unfortunately is known more for its multiplayer than it is for its campaign. So I don't know, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Anyway, so today's trailer is the official reveal for the campaign, I guess. There's no multiplayer footage in this, by the way. Multiplayer footage reveal, I think it's going to take place in E3, I think that's what they said. So yeah, let's get straight into it. So obviously, not for kids. If you're a kid watching this, just be warned, there might be some violence in a Call of Duty trailer. I've also made the speed a little bit slower at 70% because it's just easier to spot things. I've already watched it a couple of times, but... Alright, so, opening scenes. Whether it's in-game footage or not is another topic. But beach landing, well, I guess on the next scene you'll see it better than what I can. But there's troops in boats on the ocean. The gun there, wrapped in like a plastic bag, obviously to keep it dry. That gives you a better idea of what's going on. So basically, the opening scenes of this trailer is the opening scenes from Saving Private Ryan. If you've not seen Saving Private Ryan, it's a very good film, released a long time ago now, 1998 I think it was. Some very big name actors in there, including Tom Hanks, and of course, it's directed by Mr. Steven Spielberg. Sledgehammer aren't the only company to have remade the opening scene, basically. There's a few games that have done it in the past, but Call of Duty now is the most recent company to take it on, so quite interesting to see how that goes. I mean, graphically it looks quite good, not in this trailer obviously because it's a trailer, but when you're playing the game yourself, I imagine it look a lot better. And as you can see there, so loads of these little ships, the doors do open at the front. If you've seen the film, I don't really need to explain it to you, but if you haven't seen the film, maybe you weren't even born when the film came out. The doors do go down, and obviously the troops all rush out forwards, and then there's a machine gun on the back there. Obviously they're attacking a beach, hence why this happens, and the ship gets hit, and there goes that one, and ships crash into other ships, and again, quite an iconic scene again from the movie. The doors open, well, it's like shooting fish in a barrel, unfortunately, and these guys all bite the bullet. Alright, so not a very clear look. If I can just, I guess one of the main characters, I think he's a commander. I don't know, because he doesn't have any markings on his helmet, so maybe he's just the same rank as you, but he's obviously trying to encourage you to get off the beach. Okay, so they're trying to rush up the beach, as you can see. These things here, I think they're deployed to stop like vehicles coming onto the beach. That's one of the things that the Germans were worried about. This is the Normandy landings, by the way. If it weren't brutally obvious by now, this is D-Day, and obviously they're rushing the beaches. So the Germans put down defences like this to stop like vehicles, like tanks and stuff, from coming ashore too easily. But as you can see, soldiers did use them as sort of a respite from the bullet fire, but not a lot of cover. And obviously with so many troops trying to rush the beach, you couldn't really hang there for too long anyway. Obviously mortars and stuff come flying down, which didn't really make the situation any better. This is, I suppose, from the beach looking up towards the shoreline and onto the I don't know, cliffside, hillside. So obviously up here are all the Germans in their bunkers and turrets, and they're just laying waste to these soldiers. And again, this is all featured in the film, and unfortunately it was a real life event as well. So okay, this scene, I believe it's probably taken in after the landing itself. In terms of the actual war, they did try and coincide the obviously the attacking of the planes and obviously the paratroopers and stuff with the landing itself, to have like a full-on assault, you know, from the coast moving inland. So I'm guessing it's probably the same day, maybe a different segment in the game or something.
We are all that separates the world from darkness.
This scene here, I think, relates to another scene later on in the trailer, but there's a tank there that's been wrecked. Guy jumps out, and I'm guessing you're lying on the floor watching him jump out.
The enemy is ruthless.
And I'm guessing that's a bad guy, German. It looks like a German pistol. I can't remember what they're called now, but it's quite an iconic pistol. You probably know the one I'm talking about. And it cuts off before anything happens, but I'm assuming that he gets shot before you get shot, if you know what I mean. Okay, so this is probably the same scene as we saw earlier, and I'm guessing this is your unit advancing. Maybe it isn't on the same day then, maybe it's a completely different scene altogether, but it's possible that these guys are just coming from the beach, going inland, but it could be a completely different scene. Maybe another attack on a different day.
We must not fail.
Something else to mention as well is that there are sort of rumours that this is going to follow a sort of Band of Brothers vibe, and there is something I want to talk about in a minute, and we'll cover that once we get to the scene. But taking inspiration from Band of Brothers and Saving Private Ryan, I could think of a worse game to play.
Duty first.
Okay, so duty first is what the guy just said there, and I've paused it on a winky face. And basically, duty first is part of a motto for an infantry division, and I'll talk about this infantry division when it comes up. I got a sort of Call of Duty World at War vibe from this scene. Troops travelling on tanks. I mean, there is a scene in that game, and well, I'll let it play out and we'll see. So they're driving along, and obviously they get ambushed by an enemy tank, and I think this scene is a precursor to the other scene that we saw earlier, where the enemy jumped out of his tank and obviously went to shoot you. This is possibly related to the scene that we saw earlier where they were looking at the planes. First look at manning an AA turret. So there's going to be more stationary weapons. I mean, it's kind of predictable to have that sort of thing in the game. Alright, okay, so duty first. So as you can see, there's a big number 1 in red on his arm patch, and that signifies the 1st Infantry Division of the US Army. So that's the unit, I guess, that we'll be following and playing as. Now this guy looks like he's been through the wars. Well, I mean, obviously. I think, again, this relates to another scene that we'll see shortly after. Oh, alright. So it's quite a lot going in this. Well, I mean, it all alludes to the same thing. Plane gets shot, and it's crashing down, and lands smack bang inside of this building. Note the architecture. This comes into play again later on. It's a bad day for this dude who goes flying backwards. Okay, so they're in some sort of a bell tower. I think this is the same scene as leading on to this one here. And they're in the bell tower, and it's probably some sort of a sniping mission. That's what I'm guessing. I did get sort of an Uncharted 4 vibe from this section. Obviously a different sort of game. That guy couldn't grab his buddy. Alright, again, another scene that features in Saving Private Ryan. Whether they're following that is another thing, but it looks like bunkers here, so they probably reached the hilltop where the Germans were based. Flame troopers were used to clear out these bunkers. It wasn't a nice way to do it, but obviously it was a very effective way of doing it. I think actually after World War II, flamethrowers were classed as illegal now, so it just goes to show. Looks like a war-torn street or something. I'm guessing this could be related to the scene earlier where I said that the guy looked like he'd been through the wars. This is the aftermath. He's in charge of this unit. Big red 1 on his patch, and it's on his helmet as well. And if you recognise the face, you'll get a better look later on, but he's one of the bigger names to star in this game. So this guy looks like he's been injured, possibly from the fight we saw earlier. I mean, there's several scenes where this guy could have been injured, and he's asking for help. There looks to be some sort of netting there, so maybe it's covering the anti-air stuff. So maybe this leads on to the point where you're on the gun itself, shooting down the air support. Somebody obviously doesn't make it.
How many? We had orders.
That's quite a nice little transition there. So again, you get a look at the one of the main characters, and this guy, if you didn't recognize him, is from the Transformers films. His name does elude me, I do apologize, but you know the guy if you've seen the film. And I think the guy on the right is the one who's talking to us on the ship. So he acts like he could be an officer, but he doesn't actually have any patches or anything, so I don't think he's actually an officer. So obviously it leads on to this scene where I think from earlier when the tanks were travelling along that road and they got ambushed. And the 1st Infantry, I didn't mention earlier, I don't think, but part of their unit does have mechanised infantry, so tanks and that sort of thing. So I guess that kind of goes together with the big red one thing. So it's all going down. This is possibly outside one of the towns they were taking, maybe where the bell tower was earlier, maybe the sniper section. I think this is the German unit because of the uniform. And I mean, it's just a street battle, but it's hard to say. Could just be any sort of French town. I think it does say on top there something S, patisserie possibly, French for bakery. I think that's what it stands for. So I'm guessing this is the same scene, but just in reverse. So looks like trying to liberate this town or something, and they've just maybe been ambushed, or maybe this is just all-out warfare, street to street. And then again, the reason why I mentioned the architecture earlier is because it looks like, actually maybe it's not then. I thought this was like a bell tower or something, but it could be like a windmill. The whole, you know, like triangle structure and the slats on the sides. So it could be a windmill, maybe a completely different section altogether. So it's sort of a return to a little bit of gore and violence, to be honest, if you just watch what he picks up. And that screenshot right there. So at first I thought it might be a landmine or something, but I think it's a helmet. So he picks up the helmet and he just bashes his face in. Gruesome, very brutal.
Tell them what we're all about.
Interesting. So the Transformer guy must be a ranking higher officer than this guy.
No mission too difficult. No sacrifice too great.
So no mission too difficult, no sacrifice too great, and then it ends with duty first. And now, so I'm guessing this is sort of a follow-on. Well, the start of the scene that we had earlier, where the guy goes duty first and winks at you. So this is probably the precursor to that. If I just take back a couple of scenes, I know we did skip through it. So as soon as he says it, it looks like they're in the woods still. So maybe after you've lost, I don't know, maybe after the ambush you join the unit or something. This seems to be some sort of a convoy. It's hard to say, but as I said, it could be the same convoy that you were in earlier. Looks like a truck there with the United States Army star on it. Return to bolt action weapons. I mean, obviously it's World War II. As I said earlier, part of the 1st Infantry, they do have a mechanised unit division. So I think I heard somewhere that they're going to try and incorporate Battle of the Bulge into this game, which is one of the bigger tank battles from history. And I think there was a film about it. I don't know how much of that is true, but it's quite an interesting. Well, I thought it was quite a good film. So it's quite an old one though, a lot older than Saving Private Ryan. But maybe there'll be a bit more vehicle combat. Again, we haven't seen vehicle combat really in Call of Duty multiplayer since World at War. So who knows? Maybe they're going to introduce that into multiplayer as well. But no word as of yet.
No sacrifice too great.
So this tank rolls down the side. I don't know, but it looks like a Tiger tank to me. And this was like one of the big tanks from the German army. Proper massive gun on the side of it, and it was definitely a tank killer. Here we go. So yeah, that's probably leading off of the ambush. As you can see, this guy's about to finish off some German troops.
Welcome to the bloody first.
Now, the big red one is sort of a nickname for the unit, the 1st Division, 1st Infantry Division, and the Bloody First was also a nickname, possibly because the fights they got into were pretty bloody. They were also nicknamed the Fighting First as well, again probably because they were the first in. And I don't know how this plays into it, but they're also called the Big Dead One. So probably again because they were the first in and they had a lot of tough conflicts. And little funny side note that I read up on was that Big Red One, which abbreviated to BRO, is bro. So yeah, Band of Brothers-esque sort of thing kind of ties in, I guess. Maybe it's just coincidence.
You're a long way from Texas.
Okay, so he gets recruited in, well, your guy gets recruited in, and the guy on the right, I think this is directly before he says, tell him what we're all about, and he reels off the whole, you know, duty first stuff. And in the background, if you just pay attention, it's really easy to miss. But German troops there, taking POW, I'm guessing, and this guy's taking a picture of them. This looks like it could be the D-Day landings, because if you look in the background, they have those blimps, and I think they had those on the day to stop air raids or something on the shoreline. And obviously you got the camo netting there, so this is probably on top of the hill where the AA guns were and the bunkers and that sort of thing. So I'm guessing this is very early in the campaign where you've just taken the beach and you get signed up to this unit, and then obviously that's where your story progresses. And there we have it, Call of Duty World War II. Nice little sound effects at the end there. I think it's the sound of one of the infantry rifles. You know when it runs out of ammo and the clip pings out. So it's a nice little touch. Available for pre-order, obviously. Nothing special there. Apparently it's coming out November 3rd, so a little bit earlier than Call of Duty normally comes out. And as you can see there, pre-order to get access to the private beta, closed beta, if you will. And that's about it. So whether or not they have an open beta, they probably will, but who knows? It's sort of a trend now, unfortunately, to have a closed beta if you pre-order, but I'm not going to pre-order because I'm not a sucker like that. I am interested to see the campaign. I definitely do want to give it a try. As I said, Sledgehammer did an okay job with Advanced Warfare, but the multiplayer was really bad. And if I'm only going to get the game for the campaign, then I don't need to get it day one, so I definitely don't need to pre-order. And I can get it a lot cheaper within the first month or so. And definitely by the time New Year rolls around, it'll be probably half price, if that. So yeah, quite an interesting trailer. I mean, I'm definitely a little bit hyped. I try not to get myself psyched up for these sort of games because I get disappointed every year without fail. So I'm a little bit hyped, but I'm not yet on the train fully. I've got half a step on there maybe. But yeah, let me know in the comment section below if you enjoyed the trailer, if you got any thoughts you'd like to share with me regarding my trailer analysis, or if I missed anything, let me know in the comment section below. Despite the fact they say pre-order to get access to the private beta, they usually have like an open beta anyway. So, I mean, if you're not desperately in need of playing the game, then you can always just wait for that, and hopefully it rolls around at some point. I think Call of Duty is going to continue their partnership with Sony, so 30 days early access to the DLC stuff. Obviously there's going to be a DLC pass, it's already been confirmed, but no surprises there. 30 days again, it's just a continuing partnership. So I mean, I'm sort of excited for this, having seen it now, but I don't know, I try not to build myself up too much because I know I'm just going to get disappointed otherwise, so I'll have to wait and see. And as I said, I think the multiplayer reveal is going to come at E3 or just after or thereabouts, so not too long to go now, a couple of months maybe, before we get to see a bit of the multiplayer in action. And I guess for a lot of us that's probably where it's going to be, right? But until you actually play it for yourself, when the full game comes out, it's hard to say if it's going to be any good. But yeah, I'm glad to see jetpacks have gone, and they've literally gone back to, I guess, where they started with their games. Alright, so that'll do it for today's trailer analysis video. If you enjoyed the content, consider tapping that like button. I really do appreciate it. And as I said, if I did miss anything, or if you've got anything you'd like to share with me, let me know in the comment section below. But until next time, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, take care, and I will see you later.